Good morning. Happy Saturday. Welcome into Let's Bet It, presented by Superbook Sports. I'm Mark Zeno, joined by Brandon Marcello. As we get you set for a huge Saturday in football, both college and pro, we appreciate you guys joining us. Make sure you download the Pickswise app. It's available on the Apple Store and Google Play. Of course, subscribe to the Pickswise YouTube channel. Let us know what games you're on, what questions you have. We'll try to get to all the comments as we go throughout the show. Brandon, it is always great to be with you today. Bowl season is officially kicked off. We have football for 27 of the next 28 days, whatever it may be here. It's a great time of year.
The best day of the year, really. It's we got 6 college football bowl games, and of course the NFL on tap today. So a plethora of postseason football in the college space, and of course things winding down the NFL as things get real serious.
Absolutely is, and let's start with the NFL because we have some Saturday games to get to. Of course, Prop Holliday is going to join us as well. We'll get to all the bowl games today, plus our plays of the day. Early game today, Colts at Vikings. Vikings laying 3.5 and a total of 47.5 here, Brandon. Colts are 4-0 against the number in the last 4 meetings, and the under is 4-0. Anytime I get Kirk Cousins in a spot where he's laying more than a field goal, I'm always hesitant. Vikings looking to bounce back after, a bad loss at the hands of the Lions here. I just kind of feel like the Vikings, and their offense are sort of the right side per se, but it's just one of those things where I'm a little bit hesitant with that extra hook to lay it here. Minnesota's 3-1 against the number against AFC South teams this season, but there are some injuries on the O-line for Minnesota.
Yeah, and Minnesota as well. I mean, they're trying to clinch the NFC North today, and this is an interesting stat. I was doing my research here. They're the first team in league history to have a negative point differential and win 10-plus games at this point in the season. It's amazing the stretch that they've been on and everything. But I think with the NFC North up there for grabs, why not? Why shouldn't they win? And the Colts have lost 3 straight, and they've got listen, Jeff Saturday, loved watching him, but he's a high school coach, and I think we're finally starting to see some things crack through there.
Yeah, Colts are also 2-5 against the number on the road this year so far. So tough spot to back Indianapolis. Their defense still very good, just not a play that I'm necessarily going to want to stick behind. The next game on the schedule, Ravens and Browns coming up 4 o'clock this afternoon Eastern time. Browns at 3. It's weird because it's opened at 2.5. It's bet up to 3 now in favor of Cleveland. I still see some 2.5s floating out there. It's possible to find them. Total is up 38. Ravens are 5-1 in their last 6 games against the number, and the Browns are 4-0 against the number in their last 4 Saturday games. Now, here's the real thing about this game. This is the 3rd start for Deshaun Watson. He's looked like crap. He looked a little less like crap, but still like crap. So, theoretically, he's still going to look like crap today. It's just how much less of crap that he looked like from crap the week before. Did you get all that? Okay. Just making sure you can follow here. It's interesting to note here, too, again, Brandon, that you get the same situation this week that you got last week with Detroit and Minnesota. A 5-win home team against a 10-win. Last week it was 10-win with the Vikings. But now you have a 5-win home team this week against a 9-win road team, and the home team is favored. Some of that has to do with the quarterback. Now, it looks like Tyler Huntley's going to play. It's not Lamar Jackson. On one hand, you can argue the look-ahead line here for this game was probably Ravens -5, and that's too much of a swing to go Colts -3. But the Deshaun Watson thing really is very sort of hard to handicap. The variance is there. If he plays to a semi-normal level and doesn't turn the football over, because this is a Browns offense, Brandon, that has only generated 1 offensive touchdown under Deshaun Watson in 2 weeks. So it's really hard to know how they're going to play.
Yeah, averaging 8 points per game the last 2 weeks is by far the worst in the NFL right now, and that Baltimore defense, best in the NFL, allowing less than 2 touchdowns a game, and that rush defense is first in the NFL, only allowing 55 yards since the Roquan Smith trade. So, to me, uh, this seems like a no-brainer, doesn't it? You take the Ravens, man.
It does, but that's I'm probably going to lay it with Cleveland, especially if I get a 2.5 out there come 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Mm,
I would say that the Ravens in a teaser option would not be bad to take them up to if they're at 2.5, take them up to 8.5. Get them through the key numbers of 3 and 7. I think that's a very viable play, but I feel like Cleveland is the right side. But again, I'm banking on the fact that the crap that I saw 2 weeks ago from Deshaun Watson, which is the crap that I saw last week, which is less crap as we go along. And if he starts to play, look, this is a rivalry game no matter what. Like the Browns take this seriously, right? I mean,
yeah.
Browns fans will always remember that was this city that took their team, right? So that crowd is going to be juiced. It's always a sellout there in Cleveland. It's going to be a distinct home field advantage for Cleveland.
What do you think about the total? Is that tempting at all?
Look, the Ravens offense, even with Lamar Jackson in recent weeks, has stunk. Like they're not scoring points at all. And so I think this number absolutely is the right number. Now, you're sitting right at 38. Once you get below 38, you're at a key number, which is very hard to deal with. If I had a 38.5, I could absolutely bang the under, but I'm not 100% confident. Look, I think that between these two teams, there's not going to be much scoring, given the weather and the elements and the wind and everything that's expected to be there. And especially since it's Tyler Huntley, I get it. If the Browns get to 20 offensively, like if they can get 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals, or 3 touchdowns, I don't think they lose this game and not cover it. Like I think that they're good. That's the marker. But it's a real tough question if the Browns can get there on their own. They've been getting a lot of help from their defense, which again should be very up for this game. So going to be a little bit of a tough handicap there. All right, finally the night game tonight. Huge matchup in the AFC East. Dolphins and Bills. This number officially down at 7s across the board. I've not seen a 7.5 since about Thursday of this week. So Bills -7, total of 44. Dolphins are 1-5 on the road against the number in their last 6 games, and the over 6-1 in the last 7 meetings with Buffalo. But in those last 7 meetings, you haven't seen a nor'easter with sideways snow and 20-mile-an-hour winds like you're expected to see in Buffalo today. So this feels like a must-win spot for the Dolphins here, Brandon. 2 weeks ago, you're looking at this team going, wow, they might steal the AFC East from Buffalo. Now they lose this game, they might be out of the playoffs altogether. So, they have really trended in the wrong direction the last 2 weeks. Their offense has only scored 17 points each game over the last 2 weeks. It's not exactly like it's a situation that their offense is going to get right here. Tua Tagovailoa, and you know this, never started a game in freezing temperature in his entire career. Below 39 degrees, I think he's 1-6 straight up and 0-7 against the number. Don't quote me on that, Brandon. It's somewhere in that range. But, those things are sort of real, right? Like for quarterbacks,
Yes.
They're real. Like they just, some of them don't play well in cold weather. Some of them do. And Mike McDaniel has tried to sort of get this narrative offbeat all week long, whether comically or not, with T-shirts and everything. Yeah, I mean, he's tried really hard to get the narrative off, but it's not a narrative. The weather is part of football, and some teams handle it better than others.
Yeah, Tua is 0-4 in the coldest games of his career. 3 touchdowns, 6 picks. 2 teams trending different directions right now. It's in Buffalo. I mean, this sets up just to be something where Buffalo's going to clinch that playoff spot, and Miami's going to continue to trend downward. And I don't care. I mean, the more you talk about something about, yeah, we welcome the challenge. It's not an issue for us. The cold weather, it's a big issue for you, and you know it. And Josh Allen playing very well here. 8 touchdowns, 2 turnovers during this 4-game winning streak. So give me. I don't know. I want to touch this spread right now. I think it was 6.5. Sure, but
yeah,
man,
that's
I don't know.
You hit it. So in circa, it's at 7.5, and every bit of me wants to take the Dolphins at 7.5.
Yeah.
But the more you look at this, and here's the other thing too. When you get, this total isn't incredibly low at 44, but you just have to wonder, how are both teams going to score? Like, I get the Bills are better equipped to handle the snow, and they're more used to it. But that doesn't mean it's necessarily easier for them to score in the weather, right? Like scoring could be across the board down. You're going to see
What's the field actually going to look like during the game? Because they do
right.
such a great
That's the
job
hard part.
clearing the field. How much snow are we going to be having it during the game? That's a lot. That's a
I
big
mean, if there's
difference.
snow on the field, you may be in those situations where they don't go for field goals, even if they're in field goal range. Inside the 30, they're like, it's not worth it. It's 4th and 3. I can hand it off. I can get slip forward for. So it's just a really hard game to handicap from that standpoint. So it's going to change things a lot when it comes to figuring out how to handicap not only the game themselves, but how to figure out what players might exactly have the numbers we expect them to have. And that's how we transition to our good friend, Prop Holiday, a.k.a. Bobby Stanley, is going to join us right now to help us break down NFL games from a prop perspective as we look at the 3 Saturday games on this slate. Bobby, welcome in. Happy Saturday. Look at this. Now he went back to the LA hat. I mean, it was the Devils at one point. Now it's the Dodgers. It's like, what hat is Bobby wearing today is the real question.
It's more fashionable than anything. I don't really follow baseball, but it's LA in favor of my Rams. But what's going on, fellas? Happy Saturday. We got some NFL today.
All right. Let's start with the snow game since we were just talking about it in Buffalo. Is this just a complete stay away from you? Are you hammering unders across the board? How do you approach a game like this with so much uncertainty about the weather that you're not really going to know what the field conditions look like till about an hour before they kick this thing off?
It's a stay away from most player props. There is an under I like, Trent Sherfield, the wide receiver for the Dolphins. He's a guy that's really too hard to peg from week to week, and if the conditions are as bad as we think they are, I don't see him being a major factor in the passing game. I mean, if you look at McDaniels, he comes from a Shanahan offense, and what he wants to do is he wants to push the ball downfield. What he should do is rely on Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert, and try to get out of this game with a win. Let's see if he's smart enough to do that, and we go a little bit run-heavy approach. But for that game, a lot of stayaways. Maybe you pick at some goal line touchdowns, Devin Singletary, Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert. Other than that, kind of staying away from me.
From a game that has awful conditions to a game that has perfect conditions, Minnesota and Indianapolis, as the Colts' impotent offense gets on the field, where are you looking in this game?
I really, really like Michael Pittman today. I particularly like his receptions play. It's over 5.5 receptions. If we take the Cowboys' Sunday night blowout out of the equation for the Colts, Pittman has really flourished under interim head coach Jeff Wilson. He's gotten 9, 7, and 11 targets, and he hit this line in 3 of the last 4 games, the one he didn't being the Cowboys. I also like his matchup today. Patrick Peterson, aging veteran. I remember the guy from when I was younger. He's getting long in the tooth, and it's starting to really show in his play, giving a passer rating of 120.8. He's allowed 80% catch rate in 5 of the last 6. So I think it's a good line at 5.5. I think it's a great matchup for him with Patrick Peterson. Minnesota, 26th overall in DVOA against wide receiver 1. So I'm going with his receptions line, but you can pivot to his yards. I think he's in for a big game today.
Interesting. I have had trouble relying on anything with the Colts offense this year, but I will say this much. Since Jeff Saturday took over, you're right. There has been a little bit more consistency from Jonathan Taylor and from the names and players you thought you'd see consistency out of all year long. Bobby Jones, you are a man of the people. And Bobby, well, Donovan Peoples
that was awesome.
is that was man today.
That was awesome, dude. That was a great segue into Donovan Peoples-Jones.
I am a professional. Every now and then I just get in the zone. It just sort of comes to me.
Donovan Peoples-Jones, the Browns wide receiver 2. His line's at 3.5 receptions today. I love it at the 3.5 receptions. His longest reception is 21.5 yards. Another play I'm very keen on. But he's coming off the best game of his season. 12 targets, 8 receptions, and 114 yards. Spent a lot of his time in that game spread out wide to the right. When he's exclusively that right wide receiver, he hits this line in 5 of 7 games. So where he blinds up matters. I look at his matchup. It's Marcus Peters. Burnt toast Marcus Peters. Loves to make a splash play. Loves to give up receptions in the process of doing that. He's given up an 80% catch rate in 4 straight games. So I like the matchup there. Baltimore, 21st overall against wide receiver 2s. And we get Deshaun Watson's first home game. I think that matters a little bit. He made a big jump from that Houston game to that Bengals game. Yes, they were playing from behind, but he's starting to get a little bit more comfortable. One thing that stood out to me that was really key in this play, comparing Watson to Jacoby Brissett. Watson is completing 73% of his intermediate throws, his middle of the mid-range targets, that 10 to 20 yards. Brissett only completed 60% of those throws. I look at Donovan Peoples-Jones, that's his wheelhouse, that 13 yards average depth of target. So I think having Watson really benefits Donovan Peoples-Jones. So I love this line at 3.5. I think it's going to be going up for the rest of the season. So give it to me at 3.5 in a divisional game against the Ravens.
Brandon, you see how he pivoted to saying Deshaun Watson was getting better. The way we phrased it earlier is he was crap in the first start. He was a little bit less crap in the second start. So we hope in this start he'll be less crap of the less crap that he was from the original crap.
Less crap is better than more crap.
Yes.
No, I do think he's going to get more comfortable. They even get Nick Chubb involved. Nick Chubb really hasn't taken off these last two games like they'd hope. If they can establish a solid run game, I think it makes it a lot easier on Deshaun Watson, who gets thrown in week 11. 2 games on the road to start, not ideal. Not that he deserves anything ideal right now, but him getting his first home game, I do think matters and gets him settled. So
let me ask you a little more progress. Could you be interested in a prop of, Deshaun Watson over 1.5 passing touchdowns? I'm sure you're getting plus money on it at this point in time because the offense only has 1 touchdown in 2 weeks. But, I mean, that seems to me, like you said, in the home environment, the weather's not going to be terrible in Cleveland. It's supposed to be a little bit windy, not exactly ideal passing conditions. But is that something you could be interested in?
I definitely would be. And I was taking a look at this Baltimore secondary these last few weeks. 32nd overall, I think, in EPA per play for 20-plus yard passes. They're getting burned deep, and that's where you're going to see Watson really try to stake a claim on this game early. Can I take a shot deep, get the crowd into it, settle some nerves, and get Baltimore playing from behind? Huntley's not really equipped to be playing. That offense isn't really equipped to be playing from behind. I wouldn't be shocked to see them taking a couple shots early on. If you get the plus odds, you get me plus 140, plus 150, I'd strongly consider it.
All right. Final thoughts here, Bobby. All the NFL games, any side you like, any total you like, and then, of course, your best bet.
I do love the Browns. I do love the Browns minus the 3 today. Bills, like you said, that 7, that 7.5. Without knowing what the weather is, is it going to snow during the game? That's huge. I'm going to stay away from that in general. I would say Browns minus 3, and my favorite play of the day, it's going to be Donovan Peoples-Jones over 3.5 receptions.
You do have a long shot anytime touchdown scorer for us.
I do. It's in the highest scoring game of the day. It's in that Colts-Vikings game. Jelani Woods, the tight end for the Colts, it's plus 425. I'm definitely going to be hammering this. This kid's a freak. He's 6'7", 253, 4.640. He missed the first 2 games under Jeff Saturday, plays in Week 12, explodes against Pittsburgh, 8 receptions, 98 yards. What happened against Dallas? Well, they had trouble stopping Micah Parsons on that right side. They pulled his snaps. They had to bring in more of a pass-blocking tight end. He gets the bye week. I think he scores today against Minnesota. They've given up 5 touchdowns to opposing tight ends. Woods has 3 on the year. All 3 have come in the red zone. He's a massive target for Matt Ryan at 425 in an over 47.5 game. Give me Jelani Woods to score a touchdown.
Follow him on Twitter at Prop Holiday with 2 L's, HOLLIDAY. He is Bobby Stanley, Prop Holiday. Thank you so much for joining us here on this Saturday. Best of luck with all your bets today. Go cash some tickets, man. Always great to talk to you. And a tip of the fashionable LA cap to you.
Later, fellas. Good luck today.
All right. From the NFL on Saturday to college, as we have a ton of bowl games to get to today. Yesterday kicked off with the Bahamas Bowl. That was a lot of fun. An interesting end to that one. And then we get some bowl games last night as well. Let's get into this here, Brandon. We'll start Cincinnati and Louisville. Louisville -2 today, a total of 39. Cincinnati 1-6-1 against the number over their last 8, and the under is 4-0 in the last 4 games for Louisville. You have this interesting thing here going on with the coaching situation. Luke Fickell leaves, and Louisville coach is supposed to be on that side. No, he's going to walk over this sideline. But they're both standing on the same sideline because it's Fenway Park. So, your thoughts here?
Oh, my goodness. Today, we got 6 bowl games. There are 49 players who have transferred out or are opt-outs for these games. And this one has the most 21 combined players out from the transfer portal or opting out. Cincinnati hit the hardest, 12 players out. And that's not counting, by the way, the injury to starting quarterback Ben Bryant, who's not going to play in this game. But this is what stands out to me. Louisville, 9 opt-outs in some very key spots. Cincinnati has leaned on that defense throughout the season. 0 opt-outs on that defense. I think the defense will carry the water for them there in Fenway Park and get it done against Louisville. I think Cincinnati wins this one straight up. I take Cincinnati easy in this one with Louisville as a favorite. I'm actually kind of surprised to see this line where it is today going into this, considering all the developments we've seen with these transfers and these opt-outs. I think the only thing I really would see with Louisville that really gives me hope if I were a Louisville fan that they would even win or have a chance in this game is that Deion Branch, their interim coach, has been connecting so well with the players, being asked all these questions about, you have all these players opting out. And he's like, what about all the coaches opting out, leaving this program? But I think that Cincinnati, that defense has been good all year. They're going into that thing, and I think Cincinnati wins this one straight up. And that total, I don't know if I touch it right now, but especially in Fenway Park, I do think that there is something to be said about receivers being a little wary of catching the ball in the red zone with those tight sidelines and everything. I don't want to run into a wall. So anyway, give me Cincy. But man, these two teams are going to look all so much different from what we've seen earlier this year.
I just think they should let the coach be all-time coach and just walk up and down the same sideline and just coach offense for both teams. Like, that seems fair to me.
Scott
Like we were kids.
Scott Satterfield won't even be there, from what I'm told. He
I
doesn't
know.
want to be at the game. So, I mean, it's just he's going to be watching at home, or I'm sure he's probably just recruiting, and he'll get a text later telling him what the final score is. The game doesn't matter very much to him, even though he's the coach for both teams.
Yeah, we played all-time quarterback as kids. I think it's only fair. All right, Florida, Oregon State here today. Oregon's now this number has bounced a little bit all over the place. Opened up at 9, went up or 10, was at 10.5, got bet down to 10 a little bit. Some late action here on they pushed this thing all the way down to 8. I'm seeing some 8.5s and some 9s back in the marketplace here. Oregon State 6-0 against the spread in their last 6. Florida 4-0 ATS following a loss in their last 4 games after a loss. Now, I wrote this game up for the Pickswise website here. Full disclosure, Brandon. Earlier when I wrote it up last week, I'm on Oregon State, mostly just because of their defense. When I saw that movement of the line, I have to acknowledge I might be on the wrong side. I know a couple of sharp people who keep bringing up Billy Napier as an underdog, and this is what he's done. I'm like, guys, that was like at Louisiana. Like, that's not the same. It doesn't mean anything coaching at Florida. Florida's hit hard by opt-outs. No Anthony Richardson. A lot of skill position players are out at wide receiver, out at running back, on the defensive side, on the offensive line as well for Florida. The way Oregon State is playing right now, and the way their defense is playing, and their desire for a 10-win season, something they haven't had in a really long time, makes me believe that Oregon State is going to win this thing outright. It's just a question of whether they can get up and over double digits. Florida's starting a third-string quarterback, a transfer from Ohio State in this game, who threw, I think, 14 total. What's his name? Jack? Why is it slipping my mind? Jack Miller? John Miller? Jack Miller?
Yes.
Something like that? What's that?
I said yes.
Yeah, Jack Miller. Yeah. I mean, you're not important enough to work here anymore. But anyway, I think he threw 14 total passes in his collegiate career. So I get he's had some time to prep and work with the offense and everything, but come on, like there have been plenty of times that the sharp people have been wrong before. And necessarily, too, I don't think that this is like a really public bet on Oregon State because you look at the ticket count, it's pretty much split down the middle. So, again, I'm going to back my play of Oregon State here, but I acknowledge that the sharp movement on Thursday makes me a little bit weary.
Let's not forget, this is the Florida team still lost 2 straight games to end the regular season, including Vanderbilt. Anthony Richardson's gone. So are 8 other players in the transfer portal or they've opted out. And you mentioned Billy Napier. I think a lot of people are looking at that going, hey, this guy's a great coach. He's 8-0 against the spread as an underdog. including 5-0 this year at Florida. Yeah, but he's also 1-4 against top 25 teams at Florida. The lone win being that week 1 win against a Pac-12 opponent in Utah in the swamp when Florida went into that thing, reared up, ready to go, and Utah
In reality,
didn't
with
quite
the
know
game, they
what
should
they're
have never
facing.
won. You give Cam Rising that same play another 10 times, he does not throw a pick.
Probably not. And also, this Florida's not winning today. It's just not happening. Oregon State's defense travels. I like Jonathan Smith as a head coach. That those players love him there. He just got a contract extension. And Florida's focused on recruiting right now. I mean,
Yeah.
Billy Napier, that's all he cares about right now and getting things done. This is like two teams where I just see an absolute lopside in actual like focus and care for this game. Give me Oregon State, man. And you told me that that line was dropping more toward Florida. Yeah, I'm hammering Oregon State. Oregon State wins this game by double digits.
I hope so. I'd like to keep my Pickswise record trending in the right direction. So there is that. All right. On to the LA Bowl here. And how Jimmy Kimmel got a bowl named after himself, I'm still scratching my head at. We need the Brandon Marcello, Koozie Bowl or something like that. I think that's we need to work on that. Fresno State and Washington State here. Fresno laying 4, total of 53. Washington State 1-5 against the number in their last 6 neutral site games, and Fresno State's 0-5 against the number in their last 5 bowl games here. Now, again, you get this typical spot here in bowl season, Brandon, where you have a group of 5 team playing a power 5 team, and the group of 5 team is actually favored. And it's one of those things where motivation comes into play. What is Washington State's motivation to really win this game? Probably slim. Does Fresno State want to prove they can play with the big boys? 100% they do. I focus on the quarterbacks in this matchup, both of them, Jake Haener and Cam Ward. There should be a lot of slinging of the rock. Both of these offenses can score. Both of these defenses are not very good, particularly Washington State's pass defense, which is really going to be a problem. Jake Haener should have a field day today. But that said, I don't necessarily love his side. I'll probably lean towards a total in this one and play the over. But how do you handicap it?
This is the most interesting game of the day for me. Not a lot of opt-outs. And again, the two amazing quarterbacks in Cam Ward and Jake Haener. And Jake Haener especially. I think he's the most entertaining quarterback of the last 2 seasons on the West Coast. And you look at what this team looks like with him on the field with and without him. They're 6-0 since he came back from that ankle injury. He ranks first in the Mountain West Conference in completion percentage, passing yards, TD interception ratio, and pass efficiency during that time since his return. And against that Washington State defense, as you just mentioned, he should put up big numbers today. And this guy thrives in big-time atmospheres and big games. And Fresno State playing for a 10th win, and the way they've been playing lately, winning 8 straight. They got beat by Boise State earlier this year, and then really just I know that score didn't really show, but they really demolished Boise State in the Mountain West Conference Championship game just a couple of weeks ago. I love Fresno State in this matchup. I know people are probably going, I don't know, Washington State, Power 5 opponent. Why is Fresno State favored right now? But the other thing is, not a lot of opt-outs in this game, but Washington State losing their amazing offensive coordinator and Eric Morris, who went off to North Texas to be the head coach there. And Cam Ward, his family actually came out in the media this week talking about how Cam Ward struggled with it a little bit because Eric Morris was his coach at Incarnate Word, and he followed him to Washington State. And the family's having to realize, as his dad said, that college football is a business. And they're finally realizing that there's a lot of business decisions going on here. Fresno State, much more focused for this one. And Jake Haener, just an amazing quarterback and just grits it out every game. Give me Fresno State here. I think Fresno State covers, and obviously I love what they're doing at Fresno State moving forward.
Going to be interesting to see. Next one, Rice in Southern Mississippi here. Southern Miss laying 6.5, a total of 45.5. The favorite is 4-0 against the number in the last 4 meetings between these two teams, and the over's gone 9-3 between these two teams in the last 12. So interesting matchup here between two group of 5 schools. Where do you lean?
Well, Rice shouldn't even be in a bowl game. They're 5-7. The only reason why they're in is because they had the highest APR, academic progress rate. I mean, and here's the other thing. Rice is going to start at quarterback today as scout team quarterback. AJ Paget. Are you kidding me? They've lost 3 straight games to end the season. They get in because of what they're doing in the classroom. And meanwhile, you've got Southern Miss with Frank Gore Jr. at running back, who has over 1,000 yards this year, 7 rushing touchdowns, and is a guy that really just thrives in these type of games where there's something on the line. If you look through his history here, especially the last 2 years, Southern Miss is 9-3 against the spread this year. Love Southern Miss in this spot. Winning going away. Double-digit win for the Eagles.
Love it. Finally, North Texas and Boise State. Boise laying 11 here at a total of 59.5. The Mean Green are 0-4 ATS in the last 4 bowl games. Under is 5-1 in Boise State's last 6 non-conference games here. So you talked about Boise State in the Mountain West title game, but yet still laying 11 here in North Texas.
North Texas, they fired their head coach, Seth Luttrell, after their loss in the conference championship game there against UTSA. And the thing is that they're just an absolute roller coaster of a team this year, which is why they fired their head coach. And it's been like that for years. They're up and they're down. The defense looks amazing one week and then it looks terrible the next. And their losses this year, they're giving up 45 points a game. Just atrocious stuff. Winning games, they're allowing less than 3 touchdowns. Like what? How do you do that week to week where you just look like absolute crap or you look like a diamond in the rough? I don't understand it. But yeah, give me. I don't know. I don't know if I touch Boise State at 11. If this was like 8, I don't know. I just wouldn't touch it. This is one of those games where this is a yuck game, man. It's not going to be a lot of fun. Boise State's going to do what they have to do to win. I haven't been impressed with Boise State offensively this year the way they should be. Their defense has been up and down as well. But North Texas, not really playing for anything. Their head coach is out, and their defense is just Heckle and Hyde. Jekyll and Hyde. See what I did there?
It's both of them, Jekyll and Hyde and Jekyll and Hyde. You know, Heckle and Hyde, both of them. It's all over the place. All right, one more. Sorry, I tried to go too fast here. BYU and SMU. Mustangs laying 4, total is 64. Unders 5-1 in SMU's last 6 bowl games. BYU 1-6 against the number, and their last 7 games on grass. Well, you know the Mormons, they don't like grass. So there's that. All that said here as the handicap.
BYU quarterback Jaron Hall has been in a boot, and he's been on a scooter most of the week. Doesn't look like he's going to start a quarterback for BYU. That's a big hit for them. He's thrown 31 touchdown passes, 3,100 yards this year, and has 2+ touchdown passes in 10 straight games. And without him, they have 3 options at quarterback, and they haven't been real clear on who they'd go with. But here's all you need to know. Their 3 options, none of them have thrown a pass for BYU ever. They don't have a quarterback right now. SMU up and down this year, but the one constant there is that great offense with Tanner Mordecai at quarterback, 70 passing touchdowns the last 2 seasons. And they're averaging 38.4 points per game. The point total is a little bit interesting to me because I still think BYU is going to be able to score some points just by simply running the ball. The point total right now is at 64. Games involving SMU this year averaging 73.1 total points per game, which is the most in the FBS. I hit the total right here. I think they're going to combine for more than 70 in this one. I think it'll be a high scoring affair, despite BYU with the quarterback issues. I still think they're going to be able to run the ball a little bit against SMU. But I'd hit 2 things here. I hit SMU and I'd hit that point total.
Yeah, I agree. I get nervous when one team has to do all the heavy lifting in a total situation, right? Because you have to figure is part of the handicap goes, can SMU get to 40 here?
Yeah,
right. Like that's really what the challenge is. If SMU fails to get to 40 and stays in the 30s, it's going to be really hard for this thing to go over the total. And it's not always easy to do that, but that's sort of the math.
I could see it. I mean, I've seen BYU giving up 50 points at home this year to Arkansas earlier this season. They give up lots
Yeah.
of yards. They get up lots of points. They're bad in the red zone. SMU is going to thrive on that. They're going to get up big early, I think, in this one. And BYU is going to try and play some catch up and be able to score points against that SMU defense.
All right. Yeah. Two biggest games that they got kind of beat around were Oregon and Arkansas, but those are Power Five schools and they're not playing one. So I don't know if it's a mismatch talent wise. Let's see how it shakes out. But I agree with the read on the over. I get a little bit nervous when I'm counting solely on one team to do, more of the work and you're looking at a 2-to-1 sort of scoring ratio. Sometimes the math and the numbers just don't add up. All right, before we get to our 3-star plays of the day, I want to remind you guys, Let's Bet It is presented by Superbook Sports. Pile up the wins, pile up the money with Superbook. Right now, the best betting app from Las Vegas is giving you free money every week you make a bet. Just place a $50 bet each week with Superbook. They'll give you a $5 bonus, up to $50 for betting each week afterwards. So if you're in Arizona, Colorado, Iowa, Nevada, New Jersey, or Tennessee, download the Superbook Sports app or visit superbook.com to get your streak started today. With that, we will turn to the Pickswise website for the 3-star plays of the day that are available there. Brandon, we have nobody on college football games today. We do have some college basketball. Yeah. We do have some college basketball games up there for today, an NHL game as well, and, of course, some NFL games for tomorrow, including a 3-star play that I put up on the website for the NFL tomorrow as well. So check it out at pickswise.com. That'll bring
I like
us
this
to
pick by Chad, though. I love this pick by Chad,
you?
though. Kansas minus 5.5
Really?
against Indiana. Indiana coming into Kansas. Kansas playing pretty well here lately. I like it.
Well, it's going to be interesting. By the way, when are you going to step in front of betting on Louisville is the real question in college hoops.
Oh, my God. That is the worst. That is the worst Power 5, what you want to call it, college basketball team I have seen in years.
But the thing is, they were never expected to be this bad.
Oh, I mean, have you? Here's the other thing. I was talking to a buddy actually out in Vegas a week or so ago about how you could tell this team is in just deep crap because even in warmups, there's no rhyme or reason to what they're doing in warmups. Like everybody's just doing their own thing. There's no drills. I mean, Kenny Payne, the coach there, what are you doing, man? You should have You should have your warmups in line at least. These guys aren't even doing that correctly.
Number one side, you're betting on the wrong team when the layup drills are going completely poorly in warmups. Just tear the ticket up right there on the spot. You have no hope. If they can't conduct layup drills with any sort of efficiency, you know it's a problem.
They're terrible.
All right. Let's get to our play of the day here in this one. It's when it's Brandon and Zeno, we have to do college football all the way through. So hit me, brother. What do you got for the day?
Yeah, give me Southern Miss minus 6.5 for a lot of the reasons I just mentioned earlier. I really like Southern Miss in this spot with Frank Gore Jr. and Rice is starting a scout team quarterback, and they've lost 3 straight games going into this. They shouldn't even be in a bowl game, but they did a good job in the classroom, so they get into a bowl game where I think Southern Miss is just going to lay into them and win by double digits today. So give me Southern Miss.
All right, I'm going to go to the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl between Washington State and Fresno State. For me, I looked at this game and just saw 2 quarterbacks I know that can play at a really high level, and then looked at the total and said, that seems like a low number. And actually, now this number's been bet down a little bit throughout the week, down to 53. But I'm still going to go on the other side of this thing and take the total. Jay Kaner of Fresno State, one of the more dynamic quarterbacks in the country, going up against a Washington State pass defense that's pretty bad, allowing nearly 270 yards a game through the air. And this is a Fresno State offense that knows how to score points. And they can also run the ball pretty effectively as well. Now, on the flip side, you get Cam Ward. Fresno State does have a good pass defense, but their run defense is a little shaky. How much will they pivot here and allow Nakia Watson to be able to run the football for Washington State? I think enough for them to score in this one. Washington State has a talent advantage, obviously being a Power 5 school. They should have some physical advantage over Fresno State, which I'm leaning into here that Cam Ward will be able to take advantage of, especially on the outside in the passing game. But both these quarterbacks, 2 offenses that average, one averages over 30, the other one just under 30. When I get a total of 53, the simple math works out in my favor. Obviously, the handicap goes a little bit deeper than that, but I trust the spot here for both Cam Ward and Jay Kaner to be able to put up points. Give me over 53 in the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl as my play of the day. All right, Brandon, that'll do it for us here on this Saturday. Again, in full swing here in bowl season, getting very, very excited as we start to get one day closer to New Year's Eve and the semifinals here between Georgia and Ohio State, Michigan, and TCU. Always great to talk to you, brother. You have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful Saturday. Enjoy your bowl games. And we'll be back tomorrow here on Let's Bet It to recap it all and look forward to an NFL Sunday. For Brandon Marcello, I'm Mark Zinno. Go cash some tickets. Have a great day. Go get it. Go bet it. We'll see you tomorrow.